The envelope arrived on a morning that felt ordinary enough to be forgettable. Daniel Harley almost tossed it aside with the other mail bills, ads, noise, until he saw the sender's name printed in clean, official letters. His stomach tightened, before his mind fully understood why. He opened it standing by the door, shoes still on, keys in hand. The words inside did not rush. They waited, calm and precise, as if they knew they had all the time in the world. Court notice, property dispute, then the names. His parents, both of them, listed as plaintiffs. Daniel read it twice, then a third time, because disbelief has a way of slowing thought. His parents were taking him to court. Not over debt, not over inheritance, over the house he had just bought with his own money. The key to that house was still warm in his pocket. He had moved in only weeks ago, after years of working long hours and saying no to things other people enjoyed without thinking. No trips, no help, no safety net. He had saved quietly, patiently, because he learned early that asking for support led nowhere. The house was not big. 2 bedrooms, 1 floor, a narrow yard. But it was his. Every brick felt earned. When he signed the papers, his hands had shaken not from fear, but from the strange feeling of finally owning something that could not be taken away. He had been wrong. Daniel sat down slowly, the letter sliding from his fingers onto the floor. His parents believed the house should belong to his younger sister, Lily. The reason was written clearly in their complaint. Lily had no job, no stable income. She needed a home. Daniel had one now, so in their minds, he had more than enough. Family, they argued, meant sharing. Sacrifice. Duty. The memory of the conversation came back sharp and fast. The night he told them about the house, his mother had gone quiet. Too quiet. His father had smiled, but it was tight and thin. Lily had stared at her phone, not looking up. Then the questions began. Why this area? Why now? Why didn't he think about Lily? Daniel had laughed, uneasy, assuming they were joking. When his mother said, "You could put it in Lily's name," he had stopped laughing. When his father nodded in agreement, the room had turned cold. Daniel had said no. Calmly, clearly, he explained the loan, the years of work, the responsibility. He waited for them to understand. They never did. The days after that were silent. No calls. No messages. Then came the letter. As Daniel reread the notice, anger rose, but it was slow and heavy, not explosive. This wasn't just about the house. It was about a lifetime of being second. Lily had always been the one they worried about. The fragile one. The one who needed more time, more help, more forgiveness. Every failure of hers came with reasons. Stress, bad luck, unfair bosses. Daniel's successes, meanwhile, were treated like expectations fulfilled, nothing more. He remembered being 16, working evenings after school, while Lily quit her 3rd part-time job in a year. His parents had told him to help her, until she finds her path. He remembered graduating and hearing his mother say, "Good. Now you can support yourself." Lily dropped out of college twice, and they paid the fees without complaint. Daniel learned not to complain. He learned that love in his family was quiet and conditional. The lawsuit felt like proof of something he had tried to deny. That his role was not son, but solution. Fixer. Provider. The moment he refused, he became the problem. He stood and walked through the house, touching the walls as if they might disappear. Each room carried a memory already. The first night sleeping on the floor. the echo of empty space, the sense of relief. The idea that someone could claim this place without lifting a finger made his chest tighten. That night, he barely slept. His thoughts raced, sharp and unforgiving. How far would they go? What stories would they tell? Would relatives believe them? Would Lily even care? A bitter thought crept in, one he pushed away at first, then allowed to settle. They want to take what I built and give it to someone who never tried. By morning, the shock had turned into something colder. Determination. Daniel called a lawyer. He gathered documents. Every receipt, every bank statement, every proof of effort. With each paper, he sorted, his anger focused. This was no longer just hurt. It was betrayal with intent. Planned. Signed. Filed. Yet beneath the anger, another feeling stirred grief. Not for the house, but for the parents he wished he had. Parents who would have celebrated his win, instead of seeing it as a resource to redistribute. Parents who would have said, "We're proud of you," and meant it. As the sun rose over his quiet street, Daniel stood at the window and watched the light hit the garden. This place was supposed to be a beginning. Instead, it had become a battlefield. He realized something then, something painful and clear. His parents had chosen a side, and it wasn't his. The thought settled deep, solid and unmovable. Whatever came next, whatever he chose to do, this moment would define it. He could let this break him, or he could let it change him. One thing was certain, he would not give up what he had earned. Not this time. Daniel's days began to feel narrow, as if the walls of the house were slowly moving inward. The lawsuit hung over everything. Every sound from the street made him tense. Every message on his phone carried weight. He moved through his routine, with focus, but his mind never rested. The betrayal replayed itself in sharp scenes, not as memory, but as pressure. He was no longer just defending a house. He was defending the truth of his own life. He met his lawyer in a small office that smelled of paper and old coffee. She spoke clearly, without drama. The case, she said, was weak. The house was fully his. No shared funds. No legal claim. He should not worry. Daniel nodded, but relief did not come. Winning in court would not fix what was broken. The law could protect property, not dignity. At night, the house felt too quiet. Daniel sat alone at the kitchen table, lights off, listening to the hum of the refrigerator. His thoughts turned dark, not in violence, but in desire. He imagined standing in court and saying everything he had never said. He imagined exposing his parents' choices, listing every time they chose Lily over him. He imagined the shock on their faces when the judge ruled in his favor. He imagined the silence that would follow. The power of it tempted him. Revenge did not feel loud. It felt calm, clean, almost reasonable. Daniel knew exactly how to hurt them without breaking any rules. He could speak the truth in ways that could not be taken back. He could show relatives the court papers. He could make their actions public, let shame do the work. He could cut contact forever, leaving them to explain his absence. Each idea felt like a step toward balance, toward fairness. Yet every plan came with a cost he could not ignore. As the days passed, Daniel found himself drifting back into old memories. Not the big ones, but small moments that carried weight. His mother brushing past him to comfort Lily after another failure. His father asking Daniel for help, not advice. The praise that never came. The pattern was clear now, and seeing it hurt more than living inside it ever had. He wondered if his parents even saw him as a person, or just a resource. One evening he received a message from his mother. It was short and careful. We're doing this for Lily's future. You'll understand one day. Daniel read it once, then again. The words burned. They did not ask how he felt. They did not ask if he was okay. They assumed his agreement, as they always had. For the first time, Daniel did not reply. That silence changed something. Without constant messages, his thoughts grew clearer. He realized that his anger was not only about the house. It was about years of being taught that his needs came last. The lawsuit was just the proof, stamped and signed. But beneath the anger, another feeling lived. Sadness. Not the sharp kind, but a dull, heavy weight. He did not want to destroy his parents. He wanted them to see him, to choose him, just once. That hope made revenge dangerous, because if he chased satisfaction, he might lose the chance for peace. Daniel began to ask himself hard questions. If he won loudly, would he feel strong or just empty? If he humiliated them, would that heal him or deepen the wound? He did not doubt his right to be angry. He doubted what anger would give him in return. The conflict followed him everywhere. At work, he stared at his screen, reading the same lines without understanding them. On walks, he replayed imagined arguments in his head. He practiced speeches he might never give. Each version ended the same way, with him standing alone, victorious but tired. One night he opened a box he had never unpacked. Inside were old papers, photos, school certificates. Proof of effort. Proof of endurance. He realized no one had ever asked to see these. No one had ever needed proof that he tried. He had carried it all quietly. The thought hit him hard. Revenge would be another performance. Another attempt to be seen. Daniel sat on the floor, back against the wall, and laughed once, bitter and short. He understood then that his parents might never change. Lily might never grow. Waiting for justice from them was a mistake he had made. His whole life. The question shifted. It was no longer about what he could do to them. It was about what he owed himself. As the court date moved closer, Daniel felt pulled in two directions. One path led to confrontation and exposure. The other led to boundaries and distance. Both required courage. Both came with loss. He imagined standing before the judge, choosing his words carefully. He imagined restraint instead of attack. The idea felt weak at first, then strangely strong. Not giving in to revenge meant refusing to let their choices shape his character. The temptation remained. Some nights, he wanted them to feel the same confusion and hurt he carried. He wanted them to understand that actions have consequences. But he also feared becoming the person who needed revenge to feel whole. In the quiet moments before sleep, Daniel made a silent promise. He would protect what he built. He would speak the truth if asked. But he would not burn everything down just to feel warm for a moment. The conflict did not end. It sharpened. As the day of the hearing approached, Daniel stood in his house and took a deep breath. Whatever choice he made would echo forward. Revenge could give him power. Letting go could give him freedom. He did not yet know which one he would choose. But he knew the decision would change him forever. The courthouse stood grey and silent, like it had no opinion on right or wrong. Only order. Daniel walked through the doors with steady steps, though his chest felt tight. Each breath felt measured, controlled. This was it. The moment everything had been building toward. The point where thought turned into action. His parents were already there. His mother sat stiffly on the bench, hands folded too tightly in her lap. Her eyes searched the room until they found him, then looked away just as fast. His father stood near the window, arms crossed, face calm in a way that felt practiced. He looked older than Daniel remembered. Smaller, but not unsure. Lily was not there, That absence landed hard. She was the reason for all of this, yet she did not have to face it. Daniel felt a flash of anger, quick and sharp, but he pushed it down. Today was not about her. It was about him. They entered the courtroom. The judge took his seat. Papers were arranged. Voices lowered. Everything felt controlled, distant, almost unreal. Daniel listened as the case was summarized in flat, careful language. Property ownership. Family dispute. Requested transfer. Words stripped of emotion. His lawyer spoke first. Clear. Direct. No extra weight. She laid out the facts one by one. Purchase records. Loan agreements. Dates. Numbers. Proof. The truth. Clean and unarguable. Daniel watched his parents as she spoke. His mother's lips pressed together. His father's jaw tightened once, then relaxed. They were not surprised. They had known the facts all along. Then their lawyer spoke. He talked about family responsibility, about moral duty, about helping those who struggle. He painted Daniel as capable, strong, successful. He described Lily as vulnerable, unlucky, in need. He did not accuse Daniel directly, that the shape of the story was clear. One child had plenty. The other had none. Sharing, he said, was only fair. Daniel felt heat rise in his chest, not because the argument was strong, but because it was familiar. He had heard this story his whole life. Different words, same message. Judge listened without reaction. Then he looked at Daniel. "Do you wish to say anything?" He asked. Time slowed. This was the moment Daniel had imagined for weeks. The point where revenge waited, ready. He could speak now and let everything spill out. He could tell the room how his parents had leaned on him while protecting Lily from reality. He could explain every quiet sacrifice, every ignored need. He could make them feel exposed. His heart pounded. His hands felt cold. He stood. For a second. No words came. Then he felt the floor beneath his feet. Solid. Real. Like the house he had built his life on. "Yes," Daniel said. His voice was calm. That surprised him. "I bought my home with my own money," he continued. "I worked for it for years. I didn't ask for help. I didn't take shortcuts. I followed every rule." He paused and looked at his parents. "I understand why you believe you're doing the right thing," he said. "You're afraid for my sister. You want to protect her." "I don't doubt that." His mother looked up then, eyes wide. "But taking something from me won't fix her life," Daniel said. "It will only delay the moment she has to stand on. Her own." The room was silent. "I won't give up my house," he said. "Not because I don't care about my family, but because I've spent my life giving without being seen. This is the one thing that is mine." His father shifted, just slightly. Daniel felt the pull again. The urge to go further. To list names, dates, moments. The weight of all he had held back pressed against his chest. He could feel revenge waiting. For permission. Instead, he took a breath. "I don't want to hurt anyone," he said. "I just want this to end." He sat down. The judge nodded once. He looked at the documents again, though the decision was already clear. After a brief pause, he spoke. "The law is straightforward in this matter," he said. "Ownership belongs solely to the defendant. The claim is dismissed." The sound of the gavel echoed through the room. It was over. Daniel expected relief. Or triumph. Or something sharp and clear. What he felt instead was quiet. A deep, steady calm that settled into his chest like a weight finally set down. His mother covered her mouth. His father stared ahead. expression unreadable. They did not look at Daniel as the room emptied. Daniel stood and turned toward the door. For a moment he hesitated. He wondered if he should say something more. A final word. A closing line. But there was nothing left to prove. As he walked out into the sunlight, the tension drained from his shoulders. The air felt different. Lighter. He had won the case, but more than that, he had chosen who he wanted to be. Revenge had been close enough to touch. He had let it pass. And in that choice, something inside him had finally gone quiet. The house felt different after the court case, as if it finally knew it belonged to Daniel. The silence inside it was no longer heavy. It was calm. He woke up the next morning without the familiar pressure in his chest, without the urge to check his phone. The fight was over, but the feeling it left behind was still unfolding. Daniel changed the locks that same week. Not out of fear, but clarity. Boundaries were not punishment. They were protection. Each click of the new lock felt like a decision made firm. He was not closing himself off from love. He was closing the door on control. Days passed, steady and quiet. He went to work. He cooked simple meals. He cleaned rooms that finally felt like home. At night, he sat in the living room with the lights low, thinking about how close he had come to burning everything down just to feel seen. The urge for revenge faded slowly, like a bruise losing its color. His parents did not call at first. When they did, the phone rang once and stopped. A missed call. Then another days later. Daniel stared at the screen and felt nothing sharp, just distance. He realized something then that surprised him. He did not need to hear their excuses. He already knew them. A message came from his mother a week later. It was careful and short. She wrote that they never meant to hurt him. That they were only thinking of Lily. That family should not be torn apart over a house. Daniel read it once and placed the phone face down on the table. The words felt familiar, worn thin from years of use. They explained everything and nothing at the same time. Lily reached out after that. Her message was awkward, unsure. She said she never asked for the house, that she felt caught in the middle. Daniel believed her. She had always lived inside the choices of others. But belief did not mean responsibility. He wished her well, then ended the conversation. For the first time, he did not rush to fix things. Weeks turned into months. The absence of conflict revealed how tired Daniel had been for years. Without the constant pull of expectation, his mind slowed. He started sleeping better, eating better. He invited a friend over for dinner, something he had never done before. Laughter filled the house, and it stayed long after the door closed. Sometimes, late at night, he thought about what revenge would have looked like. The speeches, the exposure, the cold satisfaction. He imagined the short rush it might have given him, followed by the same emptiness he had always carried. The thought no longer tempted him. He understood now that revenge would have tied him to the past. Letting go had pushed him forward. His parents remained distant. Holidays passed quietly. There were no loud fights, no dramatic endings. Just space. Daniel learned that some relationships do not break in one moment. They fade when effort is no longer returned. One afternoon, as Daniel worked in his small garden, he noticed how steady his hands felt. The earth was warm. The air was clear. This life, simple, earned, peaceful, was something no court could give him, and no family could take it away. The lesson settled slowly. Deep and permanent. Revenge promises balance, but it demands payment. It asks you to carry anger longer than necessary. Justice, real justice, sometimes looks like walking away with your Values intact. Daniel did not win by taking something from his parents. He won by refusing to become someone shaped by their fear. He locked the door that night and stood in the quiet, listening to the soft sounds of a house at rest. This place held no shouting, no pressure, no debt of love owed, only space to breathe. And for the first time in his life, that was enough.